thankful to the wonderful introduction and for the opportunity to be here, for the leadership of the church that invited me to be here with you this morning. Excited. I must confess that I have two problems, and I would like to say that to you. One, I speak very fast, and the second one, I speak loud. So if you, this morning, I will try not to be loud and not to be fast. But if I do make a mistake, please do forgive me. In India, everybody seems to speak fast and loud, so that's part of us. And I'll try to keep it as slow as possible. I also come from a church, a Methodist church, that our church services go for about 2.5 hours easily. It's not a problem. So I checked quickly with the leadership here, and they reminded me the service is 1 hour, just 1 hour. And so I'm aware of my time limitations too. Beautiful story. Let me start with this. Our pastor had a nice church like this, wonderful church. He loved the church, many years as the pastor. And then they told him, the members told him, Pastor, you are from a past generation. We need to change everything in the church. The church needs to look nice and trendy and contemporary. So you go away for 3 months and come back. We will get you a new church. So the pastor went on a holiday for about 3 months. End of the 3 months, he came back, and the leadership of the team met him at the door. So the pastor walked into the door. This was Saturday evening. On a Saturday evening, he looked down and he saw the church was beautiful. The pulpit is great. Everything is nice, but no chairs. So the pastor said, where are the chairs? One of the members said, wait for a minute, Pastor. We will see it in a moment. So you come back, and then he told the pastor, okay, maybe we will show you on a Sunday morning. Come back tomorrow morning before the service and we will show you. So 8:30 is the service. 8 o'clock the pastor comes. Still no chairs. And 8 o'clock the first family walks in. So the leadership of the team is there. The pastor is there. No chairs, and the church is empty. First family walks into the door. So a man from the leadership presses a button and a row of chairs pops up at the end. Right at the end. Nice. And so the family sits down, and then 5 of them sit down on a row of chairs like this. They sit down. Somebody presses another button, and the chairs move right up to the front, and they stop there. And the pastor says, brilliant, this is nice. So the next family walks in. Somebody presses a button. A group of chairs pop up, and the family sits down. Another person presses the button. The chairs come right up to the pulpit. Oh, brilliant! The pastor is thrilled. All the church members come in. And so everybody gets a chair, and then press the button and come in front. The church is full. The pastor says, man, brilliant, really good. And then the congregation, the leadership said, Pastor, we have more for you. So I said, Pastor went speaking, and he started speaking. In that church, you can't speak more than 20 minutes. 20 minutes he was speaking, Jesus, nice. 21st minute he went on, somebody pressed a button and the trap door opened here and the pastor went in. And the congregation said, brilliant. Today it's 20 minutes. I'm aware of that, less than 20 minutes, and let's see if we can get to where we want to get. One of the best, today is Sports Sunday. One of the best spectacles, if you in any way watch a little bit of sport, something that you should not miss is 100 meters finals in the Olympic Games. It's one of the best sights you can ever watch because the fastest man in the world will be running there. And not so long ago we had this guy from Jamaica, his name is Bolt. Usain Bolt is one of the fastest runners in the world. He's got the world record, and you watch this man run, and it is so fascinating that God had created him with such talent to run so well. The race that he runs in his personal life, the race the world would want to see. This is what the world wants to see. Who is the fastest man? Usain Bolt from Jamaica, the fastest man in the world. And we are talking about the race of life today. Many events give us the thrills of life. And you watch people run this race of life every day. You watch people in sport, you watch people in life, you watch them, how they run their race. Some brilliant lessons as I played cricket, I've learned from cricket, some brilliant lessons, and I want to share that with you. The beautiful passage that we read this morning, do you not know that all run in a race, but only one gets a prize? Only one gets a prize. It's sometimes bad, isn't it? Thousands of people, maybe there's millions of people in Philippines trying to play basketball. Only 10 of them can play for the nation. And Paul is looking at the church in Corinth that he planted, and he's saying, the church, my dear members, please run in such a way that you will win the crown of life. We must run in such a way that we will win the crown of life. And then he says, everyone who goes into the games, in verse 25, goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will last, will not last. But we run to get a crown that will last forever. Paul is in Corinth, and we must understand, in the city of Corinth, in those days, imagine 2,000 years ago. Today, if Usain Bolt won the 100 meters race, he would stand on a podium, they would give him a gold medal and a nice certificate. But back in those days, 2,000 years ago, if somebody won the race in Corinth, in the city of Corinth, if somebody ran around the city of Corinth and won that race, they would get an olive leaf. And the olive leaf would dry up in less than a week. That's why Paul says, those who run the race, those who run on the tracks in Corinth, remember that they run to get this olive leaf that will perish and go away. But you and I, Corinthian church, and he's saying, you and I, we want to follow Jesus. He is the Messiah of the world. And as long as we follow Jesus, and as long as we live well in this world, we will get a crown that is not perishable. We will reign in eternity with Christ the Savior. That is the crown that we must run for. Corinthian church, are you listening to me? This is what Paul is saying. Then he says in verse 26, therefore I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating in the air. He says I run clearly, and in verse 27, no, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I preach to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. Beautiful. He says, I know exactly why I am in mission. I know exactly why I am in Corinth. I know exactly why I write this letter to you, church. I know exactly. I am not like a boxer who boxes aimlessly. I am absolutely clear about my life, why I live this life, how I live this life, and I want to show this to you. Corinthian church, please understand, every moment that you live in this world must be a life filled with goals and vision for your life. If not, you're beating in the air aimlessly. How true it is today. Many of us come to church every Sunday morning. What is the goal of my life? Am I beating in the air aimlessly? Or do I know very clearly? Do I have a vision? This is why God created me. This is why I live. This is what I will do in my life. I know exactly what I will do 5 years from now. I know exactly what I will do 10 years from now. Do we know that or not? Sometimes maybe not. And that's why Paul is shouting out to the church in Corinth. Don't live aimlessly. Don't live like the boxer who would aimlessly box into the air. But do you know what you're doing? This is the passage we're discussing. Now let's go back to the context. Corinth. He writes to the church in Corinth and encourages them. One of the early churches that Paul planted. So you got to go back 2,000 years. 2,000 years ago, Paul is the missionary. Paul has this dramatic experience with God on the road to Damascus. Are you with me? You know that the road to Damascus, Paul becomes a Christian. Jesus beats him and he becomes a Christian. And immediately, almost immediately, Paul becomes this missionary. And in its missionary zeal, plants churches everywhere. In Corinth, in Philippi, in Colossae, in everywhere, wherever he goes, in Athens, wherever he goes, he plants churches. He's the most brilliant missionary one can come across. So as he's planted this church in Corinth, he's writing to the church in Corinth, and that's the scene that we watch. And he looks at them, and Corinth is a strategically brilliant, you watch that, it is a brilliant city. a materialistic business century, but it was full of corruption. And the way your city lives, the way our city lives, filters into the church, isn't it? The way we live as Christians, our city, the way our city lives impacts the church. That's what happened in Corinth. So right inside the pews of the church in Corinth, Paul finds people who have been corrupted by the system, and he talks to them. That's why in the first 10 chapters of the first book of First Corinthians, you see the issues within the church. Morality, many issues within the church. There were divisions within the church. Several members questioned the issues of life. Paul was himself questioned about his apostolic ministry. They looked at him and said, "Who are you, Paul? Who are you to tell us how to live our life?" And this is the very church that Paul planted. Intellectual arrogance in the church. These are the issues that are there. Now there are two issues, as we go very quickly, there are two issues that Paul wants the church in Corinth to look at. One, the first is, please understand that we have to live a life that reflects Jesus Christ in our lives. The first issue, Paul is telling to the church, please understand that the way we live our lives must reflect Jesus Christ. Number one. Number two, Paul wants the church members to serve in a way that will bring many people to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. Two issues. First one, live like Jesus lived. Second one, bring many people with you to heaven. When you arrive in heaven, Paul was telling the Corinthian church, do you understand this? When you arrive in heaven one day, will you bring many people with you to heaven, or will you arrive alone? Serious mission question, isn't it? Serious mission question. Paul is saying, the background to this, as you go back in the chapter of 9, you go back, he says, to the Jews I become a Jew. To the Gentiles I become a Gentile. To the weak I become weak. To the strong I become strong, so that I may win some for Christ. I have become all things unto all men, so that I may win some for Jesus Christ. You can see the passion in Paul coming out. I become everything to everybody, so that by some means, somebody will become a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ. By some means, whatever I do, my aim is that I will bring many people with me to heaven. I will bring many people with me to heaven. I will live well in this world. When people see me, they must tell me, this man lives like Jesus lived. And the second thing they must say, this man took with him many people to heaven. And so Paul is looking at the Corinthian church and saying these two things you must remember. Number one, live like Jesus. Number two, bring many people to heaven. Quickly to the application. We have about 6 minutes or 7 minutes to go. But I'll quickly go into the application. The first application, number one, and if you're following, might be helpful. We are losing the race in this world. The first one. First one. If you can go to the last slide. The last slide. The first one. One more slide, yes. This is the application. This is where we are. We are losing the race in this world. Let me explain this. Jesus preached many, you remember 3.5 years Jesus preached. The Romans could not understand what Jesus was preaching. The Jews could not understand that he was the Messiah. Imagine that Jesus lived in our city and Jesus is preaching. Nobody can understand him. The Romans watch him. You remember that trial as Jesus was there, just before he went to the cross, the Romans are questioning him. Pilate, Herod, they are asking him questions, but they cannot understand. Imagine the Savior of the whole world, the Messiah, the God of the whole world, but the Romans do not understand him. And then the Jews come up to him and say, are you the Son of God? You blaspheme. They look at Jesus and say, you are fake. While Jesus lived on this earth for 3.5 years and he preached and he did miracles, they would look at Jesus and say, you are fake. You are not the true one. You are not the true one. Imagine 2,000 years ago while Jesus was on this planet earth and he preached in Israel, people could not understand him. We are losing this race big time. 2,000 years later, you and I sit in a church here, in the global church, people do not understand Jesus. They say in the world, they say Christianity is not relevant anymore. I do not know if you are hearing this. You live in a fairly comfortable country. You live in a country where you have at least a majority of the people are Christian faith, Catholics and Protestants. But if you come to India, we have 1.4 billion people. We have a tiny minority of 2.5%. 1.54 billion people. Everywhere people are like flies. And if you go to them and talk to them about Jesus, they say, I don't understand. We were 50 kilometers away from home. We went to do mission. We took a little bit of tracts and we gave tracts in our native language to people. 50 kilometers outside my city. And I go and give this tract to an old man. And I say to him, do you know Jesus? 2,000 years of gospel work. And I ask him, this old man, do you know Jesus? He says, sorry sir, he doesn't live in my village. And then I meet another young man and I say, do you know Jesus? Do you know about Jesus? He said, is it a product? What are you selling? 2,000 years of Christian missionary work, we are losing this race. People in the world are saying marriage as an institution has failed. It's not relevant anymore. Marriage, no. We don't want to live, marriage is gone. 86% divorce in Moscow, Russia. Everywhere in the world we are losing this race big time. And you and I as people of God must wake up to this reality. We are losing this race big time. Big time. Big time. That is the first realization. Today's application, as you look at this, Paul saying, run in such a way. What is Paul saying? Arrive in heaven with many people. Will you arrive in heaven with many people? Because of the lives of each of us. As I live in India, 1.5 billion people. How many people do not know Jesus Christ? And I must keep me awake every night because that is nightmare for me. We are losing this race big time. Number one. Number two, we must run really fast in this world as we serve Him. We must run really fast. That's what Paul is saying. Run in such a way that you'll win the race. Who will win the race? The guy who runs fastest. Usain Bolt. 9.6 or something like that. He's the fastest in the world. He runs in that championship because he wants to win. And Paul looked at the Corinthian church and says, my friends, please run in such a way that you'll win the crown of life. Run fast. You got to run fast. Your efforts are not good enough because we're losing this race. Many people do not know Jesus, so what are you doing? Are you running fast? A young girl, she's 21 years old. A year ago, 2 years ago, she came to our children's home, 60 kilometers away from the city in a village. She's from America, a beautiful city, San Diego. 21 years, she came up to me and said, Paul, I would love to come and serve in your orphanage. I said, do you know it's a desert, it's a village? She said, yes, I know. I said, it's very hot, 45 degrees in summer. Do you know that? It's 150 degrees. Do you know that? She said, I know. There is no electricity. Do you know that? She said, yes, I know. Out of the 24 hours, we will have electricity only 8 hours. Is that okay? She said, okay. There is no water, proper water. Do you know that? She said, yes, I know. There is no proper drainage system. There is no system. You know that? Yes, I know. I want to come and stay with the children. I want the children to know about Jesus. 21 years old. She came and lived with us for 6 months. And in the heat, 45 degrees. I don't know if you do it degree 45 or 115. Either way, it's very warm. It's 30 degrees in Philippines now. And I know, you know what is 45? It'll bake your head off. You wouldn't know how to stand, you wouldn't know how to sit, you wouldn't know how to think. That's what 45 degrees is. And this young lady with no footwear, walking on in the orphanage everywhere, at 45 degrees and simply saying, I want to be here because I want people to know about Jesus. 21 years. Are we running really fast? We must be really fast if we want the gospel of God to go on. Third one, we must run faster than Satan. We must run faster than Satan, isn't it? The world, Satan has everything. Today's media, television, internet, mobile phones, everything. Satan is using every possible strategy to run faster than us. Run faster than the Christian world. Run faster than the children of God. And you and I must run faster than Satan if we must win this race. Our biggest competitor is Satan because he wants to win the world. That's what God says. He is the ruler of the world. And you and I have a responsibility this morning to run faster than Satan runs. I was in a Middle Eastern country. We were in Doha, Qatar. Qatar is a Muslim nation. I was preaching at one of the small churches talking about sport ministry. End of the meeting, a young girl came up to me and she said, "Paul, I heard you, but I want you to hear my story. Do you have time?" I said, "Yes, I have time." She said, "I'm from Syria, one of the most closed, restricted countries of the world." She said, "You know what? I came to Doha, Qatar to work. I worked in Doha, and then I went to the beauty parlor and I went to do up my hair. When I was doing up my hair, a girl came up to me and whispered about Jesus in my ears. So I looked to her and said," her name is Graciana. "Graciana, do you know, I thought it was illegal to talk about Jesus in Doha, Qatar." She said, "Yes, it is illegal. But this girl, her name is Sally, she talked about Jesus into my ears and I became a Christian." So I said, "Stop, who is Sally? Is she a Britisher?" She said, "No, Sally is from India." I said, "No, cannot be. Sally from India cannot be." "No, her name is Salvation. She calls herself Sally." And as she did up my hair, she talked about Jesus. She knew that if somebody found out, she could go to jail and spend the rest of her life in a jail in Qatar. But here's what she said: "I must run faster than Satan. I must win as many people as possible for the Lord Jesus Christ. I must run fast." Isn't it brilliant? Isn't it brilliant? We must run according to the rules. We all know that. We don't have time, but I'm going to finish with this last story. I know you're a missionary church, 90 missionaries across the world. We must run faster than Satan. Maybe God is calling us to run faster than Satan today. Some of us cannot change. I come from a church that is evangelical. We have 500 people, maybe 700 people on a membership. There will be 300, 400 people on a Sunday morning service worshiping. But we are not missionary. And so to our church I would say, are you willing to change tonight? Are you willing to change this morning? Change your whole lifestyle until this becomes the core problem, the core driving force of our life, that we must run faster than Satan. Are we willing to change ourselves? Let me give you a story about change and then we'll finish. A man and a wife worked in a circus. Beautiful circus. The man and the wife did this act in the circus. In the middle of a circus. Are you with me? You know what a circus is? Okay. I thought circus happened only in India. Okay, so you all know what it is. This was the circus. And in the middle of the circus, 3-hour circus, 2.5 hours, the middle is this act. The wife will be tied up to a ship. Let me come here. The wife will be tied up to a big boat. A wooden boat, she'll be tied up. And then as she's tied up, they will tie her hands and her legs. And as they tie up her legs, the boat will keep rotating. Now what they will do is they tie the man's eyes, blindfold him, take him to the end of the room, let's say end of the room. And then he has 20 knives with him. Now he has to throw the knives, blindfolded, and he has to throw them at this wife. And they've done it for 20 years. Every year, every time, the knives will go here, 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 miss the lady completely. They've done it 20 years, they're brilliant at this. One day they fight in the house. Massive fight with the husband and wife. So the husband says, "Tonight I will kill you. Nobody will know that I did it on purpose. They will think it's a mistake, but I'm going to kill you." So the wife said, "Maybe you can't." You know how the fights are between husband and wife, we know that. So maybe you can't. They go to the circus, starts off his time, they tied her up, they took this man up, blindfolded, and then he said, "I'm going to kill her." He took all those 20 knives and he said, "I'm not going to take aim today. Today I'm going to kill her." So he went, bang, 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 20 knives went, and he was confident that he killed her. They took his blindfolds off, and then he looked, and to his surprise, every one of the knives went exactly where they went for the 20 years. Missed her completely. So she got down from that stage. She walked to the husband and says, "My dear husband, you know what? Even if you want to kill me, you can't kill me because you've practiced so hard. You cannot change." Many of us like that. We cannot change, isn't it? This is my comfort zone. 7 o'clock in church, 8 o'clock go back, enjoy life, my friend. But I leave this challenge with you. We must run faster than Satan. Are we willing to run faster than Satan? Hallelujah.